My name is Brittany Gage. I'm a registered dietitian nutritionist and owner of the Healthy Bee Dietitian. I'm so excited today to be able to talk about my vision of eating disorder care in the Yellowstone Valley. And I'm really looking forward to some feedback on how I can expand my practice and go forward.
Welcome, Brittany Gage, Healthy Bee Dietitian. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Big misconception that I clear up probably once a week is I'm a dietitian. The title is dietitian nutritionist, registered dietitian nutritionist, and I own the Healthy Bee Dietitian. I started a private practice about 2 years ago with the idea that I would help people with eating disorders in our community. Right now we have a very severe lack of eating disorder dietitians here. We have one that's part-time and me. So we need this in our community. We are outsourcing a lot of really quality care outside of the state. And when somebody is experiencing an eating disorder, often that means weekly treatment appointments. So I have always had an interest and a passion for helping people with eating disorders. And now that I'm in the position to be able to do that in a full-time capacity, I decided to open my doors. So I like to focus on helping people move away from this. Sorry, this font is all off, but moving away from a restrictive mindset and into a mindset that all foods can fit and that they can feel at home in their bodies and that they can feel comfortable with who they are and not feel guilty for their food choices. I do see eating disorders as my main demographic, but I also have a kind of a wide net as I'm very much in the infancy part of my business. So I see people that are coming for women's health specific issues, so PCOS, menopause, perimenopause, fertility, nutrition. And I also see a bunch of other random things. So people with high cholesterol, high glucose, low glucose, unexplained weight loss, unexplained weight gain. There's a lot of things you can see a dietitian for, and the big thing that I do is behavior change. We work on small sustainable steps to making big changes in your life. Some of the things that have been really great for me in business is I've gotten to know a lot of really good providers in the community. I've gotten to know a lot of really good business owners that are very supportive and help me with my vision and my mission, which is to help people on an individual and personalized level. One of the most challenging things of my business is that I am trying to talk with providers that have full schedules, that don't necessarily have time to have me tell them all of the ins and outs of eating disorders. So that's been really challenging. Also, just getting my name out there in an organic way. I think that brand trust is really difficult in the realm of nutrition because there's so much information on the internet and there's so many people going to ChatGPT for meal plans. And so to show that there is value in talking to somebody who will get to know you and get to know your habits and help you in a real way. This is my information that you can scan and look at my beautiful website that I made. And I just this last August was able to open an in-person clinic, it's an office at this time, but I was doing telehealth prior to that, and now I'm doing full-time in-person care, which I think is so valuable, especially for my teens that I see. Even though they're so used to being online, when you get them in person, that is real connection that they can connect with you and really open up to you about their struggles. So that's me. That's who I see. And I would love for some help with connecting with people that may interact with this population. So providers that you know that see individuals with eating disorders. If you know any providers, they see people with eating disorders. Eating disorders happen to all people, all genders, all races, all sexualities, everything. So that's something that I'm looking for. I'm trying to remember what's on my last slide. It just says thank you. So yeah. Any questions?
The food truck has the first question. That's funny.
I love it.
Well, food is big in my house because my son is a very, very picky eater, and he was an OT for a bit. We tried that out for just some exposure to new things. So
yeah.
How does your service differ? Because I saw you have on ARFID on there.
Yeah, I can bring that up. So ARFID is, for those of you that don't know, avoidant restrictive food intake disorder. So it can happen a lot in childhood and also in adulthood. Sometimes it happens when somebody has a traumatic event and they're afraid of food, or they have textural issues with certain foods. And so essentially it's a form of extreme pickiness. And so OT and dietitians go hand in hand. There are a lot of techniques that are similar, and most of the time it's best to have both on board. So that's another thing that I'm working on, is getting with occupational therapists in the area to refer. They focus on maybe textural things, and I focus on more of the nutrition aspect, making sure that we're meeting needs while also overcoming any reasons why the food may be avoided.
And just a follow up, is it covered by insurance?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Most insurance plans cover eating disorders the same way that they would cover mental health, because it's a mental health diagnosis. So it is required by law to be covered. It's just the level of coverage depends on the insurance plan. But a lot of times, most of the time, when people come to me, I can get it covered as preventative care. So that's nice, because most people won't see a bill, which makes my life a lot easier. So.
I know your show's got a question.
Yeah.
I have a question about the depth of the problem, right?
Okay.
Like how many, I know anecdotally a few families that have dealt with this, which just in my own circle, it seems like a lot. But can you give me an idea of how wide the problem is? Like how many kids deal with it? I also have a 13-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
So I know that that's a thing, right? In middle
Well,
school.
so that's actually one of the best
Yeah.
ways to tell you that it's actually more of a problem than it is. A lot of people assume that it's teens, that's only teens that have this, and that's not necessarily the truth. The largest group that has eating disorders is 13 to 25. So teens and young adults. The second largest group is women, 35 to 44. So a lot of eating disorders. The prevalence is really hard to state, because the NEDA, the organization that studies eating disorders, has come out with a statement in the last year that's like, we're not studying people of color. We're not studying people that aren't teens, people that, there's so many more. But just from the current statistics, about 1 in 5 people will experience an eating disorder in their lifetime. Every minute in the United States, somebody dies from an eating disorder. So it's a very, very prevalent problem. If you consider the 10,000 children that are in the school district 2, probably 800 of them have an eating disorder.
Yeah.
So.
That's scary.
Yeah. It's a lot. And it's very, very underdiagnosed.
Contact with the schools, but that could be with the OTs, I think that's a great referral too. But maybe there's a school district.
Yeah, I've talked to them about
possibility.
preventative programs, and also some teacher trainings, just things to be aware of, because it's not always the classic, oh, that kid refuses to eat lunch.
Yeah.
That's not always it. So, yeah.
So first, I help people with insurance, so I'd love to help you navigate all of that, at least letting people understand what is and isn't covered under insurance, so I can help you with that. But my question is have you thought about reaching it from the perspective, I see people with GLP-1s that aren't covered under insurance because they haven't been diagnosed with a disorder of any kind, so then could you help in a preventative way so that they don't need to have the GLP-1s, so that they can start rethinking their nutrition, right? Before just going straight to a medication.
That's
really
100% where I think that GLP-1 management should go, is try lifestyle interventions first. I am not opposed to GLP-1s in any way. In fact, I have multiple clients on GLP-1s, and I'm very supportive of that. But unfortunately, and you probably know this, when you go on a GLP-1, if you don't take care of your nutrition, you're not any better off. You're just losing weight, but you're losing muscle, you're losing bone mass. There are issues that come along when you don't take care of, your nutrition. So, that is something I didn't put on my slides that I also do. I'm also GLP-1 certified in nutrition. So, mostly because I feel like I kind of have to be at this point. But yeah, a big message on my website when I'm talking to people is that no matter your walk of life, nutrition is important. If you're 20 years old and you have the metabolism of the gods, you still have to care about your nutrition. That's your body, and you get one. So. Yeah. Did that answer your question? Kind of. Okay.
Emily in the back.
So this kind of follows up, Katie. So do you take insurance, and then what does it look like for private pay, and where do most of your referrals come from now?
So most of my referrals now come from providers, and a lot of them will only refer if you take insurance. I do have a self-pay option that's there, but it's not super common. What that comes into play with people that have insurance sometimes is if their insurance won't cover it. For example, Medicare doesn't cover nutrition very well. But I take all major insurances, and I'm always adding more because I think it's so important for nutrition to be accessible to people. And that is the biggest way. They're already paying so much for fees, for their health insurance, and why not use it? So, yeah.
Back here.
Is there a story behind the name of your company?
I'm often called a busy bee. So, and my name starts with B, so that's kind of why I have Healthy Bee. But I think bees are really cute, and I thought it'd make a cute logo. So, but I've been called a busy bee since I was about 4 years old.
When I first met her, I thought it was called Honeybee.
Yeah, and I went to a health fair a while back, and everybody's like, "Are you selling honey?" And I was like, "No, I'll talk to you about honey." Yep, go ahead.
Still kind of formulating the question part, but I'm curious more on like the preventative and like educational side of things. And so, obviously with teens and young adults, if that's a big problem, even into adulthood, what does like current school system and education side look like? Because I remember as a kid, like you learned about diet a little bit like in middle school, which who really cares back then?
Right.
And then, you don't have health class really throughout high school and stuff. And so, but particularly with what's in our food and what a healthy diet looks like I don't know, what does that kind of look like in our local community with teaching specifically young people what that looks like so that they can implement it for the rest of their lives?
So I did a curriculum review with School District 2 a couple of years ago. I worked for the school district prior to opening my private practice. And it's about a day that they talk about nutrition in health class, which I don't feel like is sufficient. And unfortunately, there is some leeway in the curriculum, so health teachers can kind of make it what they want. Like one teacher was teaching like a blood type diet. Like there's some problems. So I do think that's a huge opportunity, not just for Billings, but for education in general, is to make bigger changes in this space and help kids learn not only how to fuel their bodies, but also how to find balance and, to address nutrition in a really healthy way instead of just going straight for dieting. Like, oh, you're an adult now and you've gained weight, diet. That's a lot of the times the message that's being, out there. So a lot of room for improvement, for sure.
Right back here.
2 questions. One, what type of presence is it that you're wanting to have in the community, and where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I really would like, not necessarily Healthy Bee specifically, but dietitians in general to be more recognized in the community in a way that we have quality dietitians here and that people realize that they can go to them and they can trust them. In the next 5 years, I would like to be able to hire more dietitians and have a team rather than just myself. And I think in doing so, I can encourage that trust in dietitians as experts in nutrition and experts in the field. And I do think that when you have, individuals in your community that that have something, you're automatically more likely to go to them. And so the more dietitians, the better. You just bring them all in and create a level of trust in the community with nutrition professionals. Yeah.
Right here, Shelby.
So where does Proof Donuts fit into the food pyramid?
I love it.
For one.
Okay, so I brought some stickers that say all foods fit. So if anybody wants them, I've got 6 of them up here. You can have it. But I love Proof Donuts. I mean, I take my kids there once a month. So there's definitely room for fun foods in any diet. And, there's balance in that. So
once a week is fine.
Once a week. Yeah.
Right. That wasn't my real
some
question.
protein with it.
But are you still doing a lot of telehealth? And is that a plan to, because you're just one person and
Right.
it doesn't sound like there's very many of you here.
Yeah.
So if your relationships with the school district or women's health, it sounds like that would be a good referral space to a women's health company. I've seen men's health. I assume there's some women's health, or at least they're starting to emerge. Even men's health would be a good place to create a relationship with. So you're just one person. How do you see that growing?
I think telehealth is kind of a necessary thing at this point.
Yeah.
It's really helpful for people, especially for people that are visiting me once a week, that might not be able to leave work early once a week. I see people on lunch breaks, and I do like to target kind of the highline and rural parts of Montana as well. So I see a lot of people that aren't in Billings or just far enough out of Billings that it's inconvenient to come in. So I do think that telehealth won't go away. But I would like more in-person presence as well. And when I was considering opening like a space, an office space, I did have people that were like, oh, I really just would prefer to come see you. And so it was just kind of a no-brainer. But some people prefer in person, some people prefer telehealth. So.
Here's a question for you. I know that today I feel like our society is the busiest we've ever been probably in the history of mankind, right? We're just run. That's why Montana Meal Prep and all these places like Nicole are so busy. How do you navigate that with you being obviously a mother of young children, busy families? That would be the part one. And then number two, as we get into summer, as we traveling, eating out, the worst at that, because I got to have everything because I'm in a new town, new restaurant.
It all tastes so good.
Oh my God.
That's fun.
Any comments on that?
I think, personally, like I am the busiest that I've ever been in my life. Like right now I've got 4 kids, I've got a business, I volunteer on multiple boards. Like nutrition is a priority for me, but it might not necessarily be for other people. So part of like behavior change is helping them identify what's important to them and how nutrition can fit into that and how it's doable for them. Because like I could tell somebody, yeah, you need to meal prep every Sunday so that have everything ready, and they're just like, nope, like I'm not gonna do that, But like maybe we can talk about like pre-chopped veggies or some other like solutions that work for them that still fit within their goals of nutrition. So it's about like aligning priorities and finding what works for them.
Priorities.
Yeah.
Nicole and then John.
So I previously worked in the school district and was an advisor for React Club, which is a club through Riverstone Health. Are you familiar?
Like kind of.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a club that first focused on anti-tobacco and then just transformed into healthy lifestyles. So with it ran through Riverstone, that just may be something that you want to connect with.
Yeah.
To get into at least the middle schools have it. I don't think it's anything beyond that in high school, but
yeah.
And then secondly, have you thought about organizing any like workshops or classes? Maybe they're free, maybe they're low charge, just to provide some more information, get your name out there. And if so, is that feasible? Can you do an hour, a 2-hour workshop?
I've done a couple of classes now with some small groups like Fit for Mom, Heart and Soul Therapy. I've done a couple. Some of them were free, some of them were for charge. I'm trying to connect with the library. I had one planned in May and then it ended up having to have surgery, so I had to reschedule it. And then they didn't have room in their schedule, so I'm working on that. I think like 1 or 2 a month is feasible. Any more than that is a little bit much because it does take a lot of prep work, but it's definitely something that I want to do, and I would love to be able to provide like free or low cost options for families and for people that it may be their only touch with nutrition is to do like a group class. So yeah.
My question was just about like providers, because you said you get most of your referrals from providers. Do you feel like there's enough education on the provider side about knowing about dietitians and knowing when they should refer to you?
Not necessarily,
Okay.
no. And that is something that I'm having a hard time with too, is I want to be able to like give information to providers. I've talked about lunch and learns, and they're just kind of like, that's great. Like we'll send you people, but we just don't have time for that. So first and foremost, like I think it's important that I get my name to them and like gain some trust. Maybe that's one of their patients comes to me and then goes back and gives them like good feedback, or they see good outcomes. But I'm having a hard time with like that in between. Like there is a lot of misinformation about eating disorders. There's a lot of misinformation about nutrition, and for them to know like when to send it to me is kind of a hard point.
Here's a question for you. I've heard you say trust like 10 times. It's important to you. No, I love that.
It's good.
No, I mean it. I mean, this is a good thing. My question is in and around that is, are you at capacity? Do you need to bring on another dietitian? Handing your baby off to somebody's a trust issue, right?
Yeah.
So just kind of curious where you're at with that.
I am not at capacity right now. I'm about 50%. So I would love to like have my schedule full. I'm not there yet, but I've had some good growth, which has been fun and a good win. I have some good dietitians in the area that are looking for some more like work or some side things that I personally trust. And I know, I feel like the area of dietetics, there's a lot of like information and a lot of evidence-based practices, and you can tell pretty quickly if a dietitian doesn't follow that.
Well, I also think there's a lot of misinformation out there. Remember when I first started like weighing food and looking at macros, I always thought like, oh, granola bar. Well, that's better than the proof donut. And then I started looking, you really start reading labels, and you're like, there's probably worse than half.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Maybe a little bit of fiber in there. But
yeah. Question right here.
Yeah.
Just a quick connection for you. Anya Mikowski does the Mental Health Alliance.
Yeah.
And that's a provider group, which would be a really great group to get in front of to discuss
Yes.
what you do and meet those people.
Yep. And I have presented with them, and I'm part of this circle now. So yeah, which is good.
So I have PCOS, and so I'm a little strict with my daughter's food, just because it's a little hereditary also. But we were at a birthday party, and all that they had on the table was sugar. It was all cookies, chocolate. It was a tea party, so I get it. But my daughter's like, oh, can I have another cookie? Can I have this? And I'm like, oh, you need to have 3 carrots before you have that cookie, please, for your vitamins. And just so she doesn't have an insane sugar rush.
Right.
And this mom goes, oh, I want you to be in charge of what my daughter's eating today. And I go, what?
Okay. That's
What?
not my job. But
Yeah. And she's just like, we really struggle with this. And like, I just keep watching you and seeing what your daughter is picking, and I wish that we could do that. So my question is, what kind of, are you doing any marketing? What does that look like? I think, her daughter was like 6.
Okay.
So I think that, having the opportunity to give more information, I think targeting moms, as well as locations, but the whole conversation around food, just giving a little bit more information to them. High schoolers are on their phones all the time, being able to target them for information, or are you feeling this way? Maybe you should talk to your mom, talk to your provider about maybe coming to talk to me. So like hitting those signs early, as moms and dads have a lot to do with how their children eat. And so I think those things start very early, unfortunately. So what kind of, are you doing any marketing for that?
Yeah. And I think too, like there are some misconceptions on like what children are capable of at that age. You know, like it's totally normal for a kid to want to like eat a bunch of sweets at a party. Like that makes sense. But and so I think the hard thing about marketing to like a pediatric population specifically is kids are not necessarily intuitive eaters, and so you have to convince the parent that they're not doing something, or that they need to be seen, but they're not doing something wrong, because parents definitely don't like being told that they are doing something wrong. So I don't know. My marketing generally is kind of focused towards more of an adult demographic with the information that I do see kids as well. It's hard though, because I don't know how to like target multiple markets, because eating disorders and disordered eating habits are in every demographic. So yeah, yes and no. I am doing marketing. Is it the best? Probably not.
One more right here.
Question for you. So just kind of listening to a lot of the questions and a lot of the things, I think one of the biggest hurdles for people when it comes to diet and nutrition, right, is just a lack of time. Like Lathe was saying, we live in a very fast-paced world, but we also live in a very interconnected world, right? Have you thought about maybe, and this is kind of like a shoot the moon idea, but maybe putting together something along the lines of like a dietitian approved meal plan? Right.
I'm like super opposed to those.
You are?
Sorry.
Okay.
No, there are
do you mind
those
explaining
exist.
why?
Those exist for 100%. Like I do provide meal plans once in a while. I prefer to teach people how to do it themselves. I feel like it's more helpful to have people have a foundational understanding of nutrition and what works and what doesn't work for their bodies first. And that may look like initially me giving them some like more structured guidelines on a meal plan. And then at some point me saying, okay, now you take the reins and you take over, and find something that works for you, within these like nutrition guidelines. So I have meal plans available for purchase. They're not like done. Like I talk to you about what like your conditions are, your concerns are, and then I kind of work it around that. But it's not like my primary thing. Like I don't feel like it's as valuable to people as it could be, because I don't know that they necessarily always follow them super well, because they could look at the whole meal plan and be like, oh, but I don't like fish. And then I have to redo the meal plan, you know? So
Yeah.
I do feel like just like teaching them to fish first and then letting them go and fish on their own is more effective. So
No, definitely. That's supporting independence,
Yes.
versus dependence.
yes, yes. And I do think that's what is different than what you're going to find online too, is you can totally find people. that
Enough
make
talk
meal plans
about
for you.
fish and smash burgers. I'm hungry now.
Yeah. Go have a donut.
Right? Already did that. What can the 1 Million Cups community do for you, Brittany?
What's most valuable for me is connections. So finding connections in the community, whether it's providers, occupational therapists, therapists, physical therapists, anybody that you may know that can use another provider in their circle. So if you know somebody or know providers that could refer to me, and you can say, hey, let me introduce you to this person, that would be wonderful.
Can you tell everybody what a provider is like, sounds like, in case they're not sure what that
Yeah, so anybody that provides medical services, so doctors, PAs, NPs, speech language pathologists, occupational therapists, talk therapists, psychotherapists, I'm forgetting many, I'm sure. But those that are helping treat specific conditions, because almost all of them have seen somebody with an eating disorder, if not all of them. So, yeah. Thank you so much. This was wonderful.
Great job. Great job.